Hello, everyone. Leader Dorset Spur, and I am back with my match reaction from last night's game against Coventry City. Um, I am actually using my different headphones today, and that's why I'm doing it on this platform, just to see whether these speakers and microphone is better than what I've been using because I felt it's been a bit tinny rather than just using my phone. So I thought I'd try this, see how it works, see what you think, see if it improves the presentation of what I'm going to say. But unfortunately, what I'm going to say is probably not that good. I, for me, I have to say that has got to be one of the worst performances from a Tottenham team that I've seen probably since the last Carabao Cup game against Fulham. I was fuming last night watching the game. I was in the bar with my son and a couple of friends, and we watched the game, being barracked the whole time by everybody else that was in the bar, um, calling us out and calling on for Coventry to win the game, which you kind of expect when you're in a bit of a partisan kind of area. But very difficult watch, very difficult scenario to be in, and I was literally fuming just watching it. I was getting texts, WhatsApp messages in WhatsApp groups and so on. About the game, and also I even had Dell from Plymouth, one of my subscribers, who messaged me and said, "I'm turning it off, mate. I can't cope with it anymore." And I didn't answer, but I knew exactly what he was saying, and I knew it was going to be a really difficult match. So I guess going right back to the video that I did on the shooting the shit show that I do with Sweary Alex and Mason and Dean, and we talked about this game. We talked about what we was expecting and so on. And I did say that I was expecting some changes, but I also felt that there wouldn't be wholesale changes. I felt that maybe there would be, a few changes because obviously this is, in my mind, a must-win game. Whereas obviously from Ange's point of view, it's not a particularly must-win game, and he believes in the players that he's got, the players that he's brought in. This is his squad now. He believes in these players, so he believes that this team should have been enough to beat Coventry. And I've got to be honest, I think he's probably right. It probably should beat Coventry, but at the same time, how many minutes have all of these players played? How many minutes have they all played together? And is it right to you know um, experiment, I guess, at this early stage when reality is you need to start putting some results together. So anyway, I've just found a new way of doing this. I didn't know how to do this, but I found this. So here you go. So that was the lineup for last night, as everyone can see. I personally um, didn't have an issue with Dragusin. I thought it made sense for Dragusin to come in, but I did want to see him play with Van der Ven. So I was a little bit not disappointed, but a little bit shocked that we were going with Ben Davies. I appreciate he probably needs match time and all the rest of it, but at the same time as that, I was just a bit like, well, it would be really good to see Van der Ven and Dragusin together to see how that works because we've seen Dragusin and um, Romero, but have we really seen what it's like with Van der Ven? So that was my first point that I was kind of a little bit um, disappointed with. Then I saw Gray as a right back, and I'm thinking, well, I know he can play there, but as I understand it, he's a right midfield player, like a number six. So why would we put him there when we've literally got Jed Spence on the bench, who is a proper right back and has done quite well in the pre-season? So again, that kind of flummoxed me a little bit. Happy to see Bergval in. I felt it made sense for Bendencourt to come in, a little bit of experience in there. Same with Sarr. I wanted to see Odebear, but again, I wanted to see Odebear on the left because I felt that when we played on the left, he looked a bit sharper, he looked a bit better on the left. That may just be my opinion, but I felt he looked good on the left. I absolutely wanted Solanke to play because I think he desperately needs to get off the mark because the pressure is going to mount. Whatever we say, the pressure is going to mount. But the two players I didn't want to see, I didn't want to see Forster, if I'm being honest, and I absolutely didn't want to see Timo Werner. So for me, I was more going with sticking with Vicario in goal because I think he needs confidence. He needs to be playing at the top level and kind of pushing and developing his relationship with his defenders. I would have gone with Jed Spence at right back if we're going to change it. Dragusin and Van der Ven would have been my preferred pairing. Udogi, happy with that. Benton Core, Saar and Bergval. Yeah, okay, I can kind of go with that. But Bergval really needs the minutes. He's supposed to be a top talent, and I wanted to see how that kind of goes. But he's got a bit of experience around him, so that kind of made sense. Odegaard on the left, I would have still gone with Johnson on the right. I absolutely would have gone with Johnson on the right because again, I'll stick up for the kid because I think I don't think he's as bad as Twitter and social media would have you think. So I would have liked to have seen him in there, which would then take out Werner, and then obviously Solanke up front. So really a bit disappointing. From that perspective that of this team, especially when you've got Vicario on the bench, you've got Spence on the bench, you've got Maddison, you've got Kulu, you've got Johnson. So it's not like they weren't around, weren't available. So yeah, so I was really disappointed with the kind of starting lineup that we went with. But I'll give credit where it's due. I will give credit where it's due. I thought Forster overall had a half and half game. I felt that you have to give him some credit for the shot stopping that he did. He did do some shot stopping, but he's playing out from the back. Mate, if you think Vicario is a problem doing that, then watching Forster do it really did kind of get to me. But listen, for a guy that's been out for a year who hasn't had any football at all, that for me, I kind of get a little bit. But again, really worried from that. But I can't. I'm sorry, Jono. For those of you who don't know, he's another member of South Dorset Spurs. He actually looks a bit like Timo Werner, but he's a big advocate of Timo. He says that he's not playing in the right position. He's not playing the right football for him, and that he has things to offer playing as a two-man strike force. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. He's going to play right side or left side. And he's supposed to be able to drift in one way or the other if he's playing on them. If that's the case, then why is he not drifting into that space? But for me, I felt he was really poor and a big mistake from Ange to kind of persevere with him. I really don't see it. A really disappointing game. I felt our overall play was really poor, side to side. There was no penetration in it. There was no movement. I kept calling out. Everyone was static. Everyone was just literally standing there waiting for the ball to come to them, then turn and try and do something. But by that time, Coventry were in the block, and they literally were not going to let you do anything. And we again not able to pull the trigger and score any goals, like have a go or whatever. And that becomes really frustrating for us. Frustrating for the fans, frustrating for the players, and frustrating for those of us watching at home. So I really felt that the game was calling out for creativity. It just wasn't working. Bergval, I felt, had a fairly decent game. I thought he worked really hard. He was always showing for the ball. We wanted to be on the ball. We wanted to go for it. But every time he got in, he turned around. There's just no runners. There's no one there. There was no space to kind of play it. So that was really frustrating me. I've got to be honest. Um, But obviously, the bright sparks in all of this is Kulu coming on, who was made an absolute massive difference. Like his running, his effort, his physicality, his directness made such a difference. And I don't think we would have got through that game had it not been for Kulu coming on and really, dragging it from the doldrums. To be honest with you, because for me, I thought Coventry were the better side. I felt that they had more about them. They really wanted the game. They kept going and kept going and kept going. They got their just desserts on the goal. Absolutely deserved it. Absolutely deserved it. But for some absolute, Jed Spence again, you've got to give credit where credit's due. The kid came on playing out of position on the left side of the defence. Worked hard, kept running, and literally got us back in that game by the skin of his teeth. And I was so happy for the lad because, he's been through a bit of a rough time, not really wanted by the club, sent away on loan all the time and all the rest of it. But he's clearly got something about him. It's just whether he's going to get all the opportunities that he really needs. And I think with all the cup competitions and all the rest of it, there's got to be an opportunity in there for him, in my view. Because I don't see Kulu being played out on the right hand side. I think he's more central now, false nine, taking over from Madison or Bergvall, that kind of thing. That's where he's playing now. That's where he's seems to be more effective. Um, and of course, the story of the night. The story of the night is Brennan Johnson, who, for a lad who's been under so much pressure that he's had to delete something as ridiculous as Instagram because of people's personal attacks and abuse on him. Honestly, that beggars belief. I get it. You can call out a player, you can say a player's not playing very well, but the personal abuse and that. I mean, I'm not going on Timo Werner's emails or Insta or whatever and saying, mate, you're absolute rubbish and you should die or blah blah. Any of that. I'm just saying that for me, he's not playing the way I want him to. He's not fitting into this process. Whether that's a confidence thing, whether it's just an ability thing or whatever, I called it out right from the start that I didn't think that he was the right player to buy, whether he's 15 million quid and he's on loan or not. I really didn't think it was the right thing to do. But the club decided to do it, and I think it's really showing the shortfalls in there. But listen, it's not personal. I'm not going after him personal. So to see Brennan Johnson absolutely have space in front of him to run into, right? So we're kind of they're pushing us back. They're pushing us back. So we get a bit of space. The ball across was beautiful, and he runs onto it, and he just takes it absolutely wonderfully. He chips it over the keeper. Nice finish. You would say that he was full of confidence to score that goal. And for me, fair play to him. I give him a round of applause. Absolutely understand him going over to the fans and then kind of turning away. Although I would probably suggest that the fans that are travelling all the way to Coventry are not really the fans that are giving him abuse on social media. Those people are probably people that never go to a game and have all their bent up anger directed through keyboard warrior rather than those people that turn up week in week out and go to all those away games because those guys really do and girls do really put the effort in and spend the money to support the team, the club, and the players. So I feel a little bit like probably not the right people to direct your upset at, but point made. And it was great to see his dad in the crowd, with a big smile on his face, as if to say, "See, see, this is what this boy is all about." Right? You've got to give him time. You've got to give him an opportunity to develop, and he's got to get those right opportunities. He's playing out on the right, trying to get the ball in all the time into a really congested area where you've got no runners coming in, no one's getting in the back. The positioning is just really poor. So for me, that was a tale of the game. And listen, if you are a football fan and you go to football matches, nobody in that ground in the Tottenham end will be thinking about how poorly we played in that game. They will all be thinking about the craziness in 90 minutes, the fact that we turned that around, won the game, and were absolutely able to go crazy and really enjoy that moment and move on to the next round in exactly the same way that all the Arsenal fans that were at White Hart Lane on Sunday were celebrating after watching their team play like Stoke for the whole game. It makes no difference. They don't care. They got the 3 points and they march on. And here we are moaning about it and being disappointed. And I was absolutely devastated at that result. But for football, it's all about the result. It's all about getting there at the end and the feeling of scoring a last minute goal. I think if you go back to my videos from last season, there is a little video of me where I came out of going after the Sheffield United game. I'd had probably more lager than I probably should have done, and I was a little bit, leery, I guess. But that's how I felt after that game. We didn't have a great game, but we stole it at the end. A smash and grab. We got the result. And that meant more to me than the overall performance. I want to see good performance from Spurs. I love to see the one-touch, quick passing movement, the high press, the closing down, the turnovers, the peppering of the goal with opportunities. That's what I would love to see. But if it ends up that we win ugly and get a result, regardless of who the opposition is, I'm going to take it all day long. I'm going to. Moving on to Ange, it's a really difficult period. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I absolutely do not subscribe to the idea that Ange needs to go. I don't. I'm sorry. I've just spent the best part of 50 years following this football team. And we have been through so many rebuilds, so many refreshes, so many different managers, so many new starts, and so on and so on, that it just kills my soul. We haven't been any good since the early 80s. Regardless of winning a cup here and there, we have not been a great football side. We have not been consistently good, winning trophies or anything like that. That's a fallacy. We were good in the 50s, 60s, a little bit in the 70s, maybe. The 80s was probably the closest time that we've been really any good. And so I don't think we should be looking at just the last 20 years. I think we should be looking at the last 40 years of abject crap that we've had to put up with as Tottenham fans. But as I keep saying, we are addicts. We love our club, and we're gonna be there when Daniel Levy, Ange Postecoglou, Scott Munn, whoever, and all these people that are moaning constantly are long gone. Our legacy will be our children, our children's children that will still support the club, and Tottenham Hotspur will continue. So yeah, it's a real difficult one. I'm not the man to say Ange out. I can tell you, I'm not enjoying this difficult period. I'm struggling to try to get behind him. I find some of the things he's doing really strange and so on. But to my mind, I'm like, if you get rid of him now, what happens to all these players that we've just bought? Who's going to get a better performance out of these players? The man who wanted them, who convinced them to come, or someone else coming from the door who might have a totally different idea about how to play and what to do and what the tactics might be and what the opportunities might be for these players. So I think it's a really, really difficult one to kind of pick out. I've had loads of people messaging me telling me that he's done. Ange Postecoglou, Ange out. I've seen it all. I've seen it all, and you're all entitled to your opinion. Absolutely entitled to your opinion. But then I'm entitled to mine, and I just think I'm gonna, I should keep my head down. I should keep supporting the club because that's what I do. I'll call out the performances when I need to. I'll give praise when I feel I need to. But at the same time, you have to call it out when it's poor. And last night was poor. The overall performance of the match was poor. The stats that we've got there, okay, we've got 69% possession, but our shots are less than Coventry's. Our on target is less than Coventry's. Our passing is better, but our passing is literally just across the front. Nothing's kind of going anywhere. So what can you take from any of that? It doesn't really mean anything. Two clear cut chances, two goals. We're winning all the tackles, 50-50 on the aerial duels. So yeah, okay, there's a load in there in terms of how you're performing, the tails of the stats. But the only stat that really matters is the goals at the end of the game, and getting through that game and moving on to the next round is probably the most important thing, and we move on from there, and we see where it takes us. We've not been anywhere near this competition for a very long time, and it's time that we took it seriously. Whether Ange will or not, I don't know. But for me, when he's talking about always winning something, excuse me, always winning something in his second season, for me, this is the one that's probably the easiest out of them all. You know, you're joining it in the fourth round. The route is a lot shorter. So, if any of them, this is the one that you should really be expecting to win. And okay, it may not be the most prestigious, but it's still silverware, and it's still a start. And winning trophies is the start of something if you continue to build in the right way. So for me, I guess the end answer to all of this is I'm still Anging. I still believe that we're going as best we can in the right direction. I feel that we are still short of players, the right players, the quality of players. We've got a very young squad that's probably going to take time to settle. Wasn't expecting to win the Premier League this season for sure. I got us down in my early prediction as somewhere around seventh, but with an opportunity to really go somewhere in a cup somewhere. That for me is the important bit. Moving forward, trying to get some silverware, taking something seriously enough, and building for the future to get closer and closer and closer. I might be deluded. I might be a happy clapper, but that's me, and that's all I've got to say about that. In the immortal words of Forrest Gump. So anyway, look, I'm going to leave it there. I know I've rambled on for sort of 20 minutes. I'll just leave it and say thanks for watching. Please do subscribe if you don't subscribe. That's really helpful. I'm getting quite close to the 2,000 now after several years of doing this stuff. So it'd be nice to break a 2,000 if I could ever get there. Give it a like if you like it. Give it a thumbs down if you don't. Leave a comment. I'll read them all. I try to answer them. I try to take them all in. Please just be a little bit respectful. Not necessarily on this one. I can take it, but you have to think that there are people at the end of these cameras when they're talking and they're just giving their opinion, rightly or wrongly. Anyway, listen. Thanks very much again, and like I say, if you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you all on the next one, which will be after the Brentford game. Brentford, I'm going for a 2-1 again. I may be deluded, but I'm hoping that we can start galvanise and start putting some results together. But we'll see. Keep the faith. Love your team. Up the Spurs.